$300,000 to raise a kid. Is parenting now a luxury in America? They said the American dream was simple. Go to school, get a job, start a family, raise your kids, live a good life. But somewhere along the way, something changed. Because today, right now, it costs over 300,000 US dollars to raise a single child in America. Not for college, not for luxury, just to get them to 18. And suddenly, a question that used to sound ridiculous now feels very real. Is raising kids becoming a luxury? Let that sink in.
Raise a child.
How expensive?
It's gone up 30%, actually, nearly 30% over the past 3 years. It costs more than $300,000 to raise a child in the United States nowadays.
So apparently it's all about where you live. And the most expensive places are Hawaii, Maryland, and Massachusetts. Okay. Of course, the South, you get a break. $17,000 in Mississippi, Alabama, $18,000 in South Dakota, $18,000.
So that's over the course of 18 years, correct, right?
For the first 5 years.
Right. But since 2023, they say the cost of raising a kid is up 27%. So just so you know, just keep track. They will pay you back. Right. If you just keep that invoice.
Do y'all think that most of this, though, is coming from the childcare costs that is impacting?
Gosh, everything is so expensive. And
go back to that number,
$100,000. That's not a house. That's not retirement. That's not generational wealth. That's just parenting. And here's where it gets even more shocking. That number has skyrocketed nearly 30% in just a few years. Not decades. Years. So if you feel like life is getting more expensive, you're not imagining it. Now think about this. The average annual cost, around $16,800 per child. Parents in those early years, when diapers, daycare, and sleepless nights take over, it jumps to nearly $30,000 a year. New York Post says that like paying rent twice. So today we're diving deep, not just into the numbers, but into the reality behind them. Because this isn't just about money. This is about the future of families, the shrinking middle class, the emotional cost of parenting, and a society quietly asking, can we ever afford children anymore? The shocking shift from normal to luxury. There was a time not too long ago when having kids wasn't a financial debate. It was just life. But today, nearly 70% of Americans say raising children is too expensive. That's not a minority. That's the majority. And here's what's happening beneath the surface. The middle class, the group that historically carries family life, is shrinking. Back in 1971, about 61% of Americans were middle class. Today, that number is closer to 51%. And with it, stability is shrinking too. Because raising kids was never meant to be easy, but it was supposed to be possible. Where is all the money going? Let's break it down. Because 300,000 doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. And the biggest culprit? Number one, childcare. Childcare alone can cost over $17,000 per year on average. In some states, over 20,000 plus. That's not childcare. That's a second mortgage. And here's the problem. You can't just skip it. Parents have to work. So they pay or they sacrifice income. Either way, they lose. Second one is housing. Kids don't just need space. They demand more than it. A bigger apartment, a safer neighborhood, better schools, and suddenly your rent or mortgage isn't just about you anymore. It's about opportunity. And the third one, food, healthcare, transportation. It's the everyday costs that quietly stacks up. Groceries, rising every year. Health insurance, premiums, gas, schools, supplies, clothes. None of them seem overwhelming alone. But together, they create a financial avalanche. The real question is parenthood still a choice or a privilege? This is where the conversation gets uncomfortable because historically, having children wasn't tied to wealth. But today, it increasingly is. Think about it. If raising one child costs $300,000, what about two, three? You're now looking at nearly $1 million. So what happened? People delay having kids or they don't have them at all. And we're already seeing it. Birth rates in America are dropping, not because people don't want kids, but because they feel like they can't afford them. The emotional cost no one talks about is next. Money is one thing, but the emotional weight, that's something else entirely. Parents today aren't just raising kids, they're managing financial anxiety. Work, life imbalanced, constant pressure to do it right. And here's the hidden truth. The more expensive parenting becomes, the more pressure parents feel to justify it, to be perfect, to provide everything, to never fall short. Because when something costs that much, failure feels even more expensive. Why this happened? So what changed? Why is parenting becoming so expensive? Number one, inflation. But not just inflation. Yes, prices are rising. But children costs have outpaced inflation entirely. Meaning, even when wages go up, they're not keeping up. Two, stagnant wages. While costs soar, income hasn't kept pace. So families are stretched thinner than ever. And number three, the modern standard of parenting. Today's parenting expectations are higher than ever. Better schools, more activities, healthier food, safer environments, and all of that costs money. Is this sustainable? Here's the bigger question. What happens to a society when fewer people can afford to have children? You get aging populations, labor shortages, economic slowdowns, because kids aren't just a personal choice. They are the future workforce, the future economy, the future everything. The harsh reality, let's be honest. For many people, parenthood now requires financial planning, career stability, dual income, and sometimes even sacrificing dreams just to make it work. And for others, it feels out of reach entirely. But here's the twist. Despite everything, people are still choosing to have kids. Why? Because parenting isn't just a financial decision. It's emotional. It's human. It's legacy. You can't put a price tag on raising kid, of course. A child's first words, also very important, right? Their laughter, their growth, and maybe that's why. Even in the face of the $300,000, people still say yes. Is raising kids a luxury now? The answer isn't simple because for some, it already is. For others, it's a sacrifice they're willing to make. But one thing is clear, the cost of raising a child in America isn't just rising. It's redefining what family even means. And maybe the real question isn't, can't we afford kids? But rather, what kind of world are we building if fewer people can? If this make you think differently about parenting, money, or the future, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because this conversation, it's only just beginning. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.